The U.S. military's repair crisis on the modern battlefield. No one doubts the superiority of the United States military on the modern battlefield. But behind the scenes, a strange and serious crisis is brewing within the American armed forces. The inability to repair their own battlefield equipment has become a major challenge for the U.S. military. In modern warfare, where speed and capability are critically important, this limitation is slowing down military operations and putting American forces at risk on the battlefield. Last March, Army officials announced they are drafting a limited legislation on the military's right to repair its own equipment. Previously, a broader proposal on this matter was included in the U.S. Congress's Defense Authorization Bill. However, due to pressure from defense contractors and manufacturers, it could not be retained in the final legislation. The root cause of this problem is the increasing software dependency of modern weaponry and the so-called vendor lock system. Most contemporary military equipment is controlled by complex lines of software code. Large contractor firms maintain exclusive ownership over the design, software interfaces, and tools of these systems. As a result, when a piece of equipment breaks down on the battlefield, soldiers do not have access to the necessary source code to repair it. Even if soldiers are trained, there is simply no opportunity to repair million-dollar fighter jets and tanks. U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll has stated that purchasing a single helicopter part from vendors costs $14,000, yet the U.S. Army could produce a stronger equivalent part using its own 3D printing technology for just $300. However,
due to the lack of source code access and legal ownership, they cannot directly do so. This problem is most acutely visible with the F-35 Lightning II, the game-changing fighter jet of the U.S. Air Force, because nearly 8 million lines of software code in the aircraft are entirely under contractor control. Before the 1990s, the Pentagon would acquire technical data when purchasing weapons. However, in the post-Cold War era, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, policies changed with the goal of cutting costs and procuring military equipment more quickly. Rather than taking full ownership of weapons and equipment, the U.S. government chose to use arms and technology from military manufacturers through licensing agreements. This left technological control of U.S. military systems in the hands of contractors. The Pentagon is currently working toward a balanced solution to address this problem. However, the interests of weapons manufacturers in questions of intellectual property rights have made this process increasingly complicated.